let's get to Russ, and then I don't want to keep you for too much longer. Who's the GM in Houston now, or president, whatever he is?
I believe it's Raphael Stone.
Raphael Stone. There you go. So Mike Vorkunov, I am deeming you. I'm deeming you Leon Rose. I'm going to be Raphael Stone. I call you tomorrow and I say, you know what? I don't need this headache. I feel good about Christian Wood. I feel great about Boogie Cousins. I just want to get this guy out of here. You could have him for Julius Randle. Take your pick of Frank Ntilikina or Dennis Smith Jr. And I think that works under the cap, right? That should work under the cap because it's 25. Russ is at 41. So that works under the cap. What say you, sir?
So Julius Randle and Frank Ntilikina,
or Dennis Smith Jr. if that tickles your fancy more.
I mean, if Dennis Smith Jr. is in there instead of Frank,
so that's the thing that makes the difference for you.
I would consider it more so. I don't think. I don't know. It's hard. Like his contract is not great. Like if the Knicks just signed Russell Westbrook this offseason to 3 years and $133 million.
Yeah.
You would be like, okay, what is going on here? To like, is this just more of the same?
Exactly. Yeah.
At some point, like you have to get better as a team, right? You have to be more attractive to players around the league. I think that's the thing we're noticing now is that,
well, nobody wanted to come here because they suck.
Right. No one wants to play for a crappy team. Right. So you're basically asking yourself, at what point do you pay a we suck tax? Right. And so
I'm sorry.
So it's
Gordon Hayward tax. That is officially, we're going to call that the Gordon Hayward tax.
Yeah. So you're wondering, okay, when does that happen? Right. Are you just going to pay it in free agency to attract, some player here that you wouldn't normally be able to sign? Do you do it earlier than maybe your competitive cycle to get like a guy like Russell Westbrook? And so as long as it doesn't cost you anything for your future other than cap space, onerous as that contract may be, like, it raises the floor on you next season, makes you better. It gets, guys start watching Knicks games a little bit more because Russell Westbrook is playing.
Yeah. But it's also not only about the when do you pay the we suck tax, it's who do you pay the we suck tax for. And I think most Knicks fans, even if they were against the move, would have been able to be like, all right, Chris Paul, I get that. And but even for argument's sake, let's say Chris Paul had one more year on his deal, right? I even think then you could have made a stronger argument for it. With Russ, he's just so divisive of a player. And it's like, once Russ is in your organization, then like your organization's about Russ and like both on and off the floor, I feel like. So I think that has to do with it too. But yeah, I was curious where you would come down on it, and you came down about where I figured you would. So
it's a hard one. I mean,
it's not easy. It's not a simple answer, I don't think.
I do like, after seeing the Knicks for the last few years and just other teams around the league, at some point you have to have forward progress, right? And so this just constant like iterative rebuilding cycle that just transitions from one rebuild to another. You do if you're the Nets and you can do it super organically, right? Like they had everyone that contributed to that playoff team in 2 years ago was drafted, signed as a low cost free agent, or they traded, Brook Lopez, right? I think that was a trade. Brook Lopez to the Lakers.
It was Brook.
No, not even. It was a number 27 pick, right? 27 pick.
It was Brook and the pick for D'Lo and Mozgov, if I
right. So everyone that they got was either drafted or like a distressed asset, basically. And they were so good at procuring talent, developing it, finding the right guys, and they were able to build that thing out of rubble. But
yes,
the ability to do that is like very hard, and it doesn't happen very often because, we can mention the Nets as one of the few teams that was able to rebuild out of the rubble, out of nothing, without, hitting on a lottery pick and hitting on a free agent signing somewhere. So yeah, it's like, how do you take that next step? I think it's just.
No,
and this is not me advocating 100% for trading for Russell Westbrook. It's just thinking through it.
I always think about like where is your organizational mentality? Not mentality is the wrong word. What's the vibe in your organization like? Because like the Nets, like, yeah, they lost however many games, they won, I should say, 20, 21 or however many games. But like, there was like a good vibe. Like Kenny Atkinson had the thing rolling. I'm wondering, like, maybe it comes to mid-season and like they make a pivot, but right now, I just don't know if they need to, because they got Tibbs. Like if Tibbs like takes this group and he goes out there and they're like losing close games and they're playing hard and they're like flying around on defense, whatever, and Obi looks good. I think Obi Toppin has a lot to do with this. Let's say RJ looks a little bit better. Even if they're bad, I feel like you can start to see like, okay, we got another top, 6, 7, 8 pick coming in a really good draft. That's why I shy away from doing it. But I'll tell you this, I would feel a lot better about saying that if they had, whether it's Lonzo Ball, just like some guard ball handler. Yeah. Let me rephrase that. Some ball handler that I could be like, okay, I can at least talk myself into that guy being a real guy, for the season.
I agree. And if like this season goes semi-normally and there's a trade deadline and we get to the trade deadline part of the season and you could see a team decide, okay, we're in a position where, whatever, they would decide they really want to make the playoffs this year, or they're a contender and they really want to, acquire someone that could help them in the front court. And they feel like Julius Randle is that guy and he's on an expiring contract and they're willing to maybe part with, a guard who has some promise, and the Knicks buy in on that. Or some other teams like, well, screw it, man. Like we're bad. Like we need to get rid of this contract and we'll attach, this promising guard just to make it happen and take the money off. Like we can't afford to pay it in a season with no fans. I don't know. Who knows? Right. That's the thing. Like they have the salary floor they have until the last day of the regular season to get there. Yeah. Not that it really matters if they do or not. So we'll see.